بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسي السماوات وما في الأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. سلوات.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتحدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وأحلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله وعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. First of all, let me express my congratulations and my mubarak to the Imam of our time, to the Marajeh, and all of you, my sisters and brothers in my beloved Edmonton community. I will say beloved as many times as I want. On this beautiful night, the waladat basa'adat of our fourth Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring beauty to our worship and include us amongst these sajideen, the ones who prostrate purely towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our fourth Imam was born on the 5th of Sha'aban in the year 38 after Hijrah in the city of Medina. And he was shaheed on the 25th of Muharram, 95th year after Hijrah. He lived for 57 years, of which 34 of them he was an Imam. He was only 22 years old on the day of Ashura, the only surviving male on the day of Ashura. For 34 years, he carried that trauma and that grief of the day of Ashura throughout his life. You know, I have been with all of you now for the past 3 nights, and I am always so grateful, honored. I feel so respected by the executive members of the Jamaat there in Edmonton, who always reach out to me and ask me to address the community, and I'm so honored and I'm thankful. So I just wanted to express my gratitude, my thankfulness to Zuhair Bhai and his team, and to Muhammad Ali and the whole AV team, and being so professional and being so flawless in your execution, ensuring that in this very, very difficult, trying, unique times, that the dhikr of Ali Muhammad and the treasures of the deen are still not sacrificed. Somehow or another, get the dhikr of the Ahlul Bayt inside people's homes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, accept your amal, you become a wasila, you become a bridge, and you become, a resource for people now to ensure that these days that are so special for us, they're not ignored, and they're given their due importance. May Allah bless you all, inshallah. What I wanted to speak about tonight, along with my theme for the past 2 nights of rebooting, reviving, restarting, looking inwards, is when we think about Imam As-Sajjad and when we think about his life, 2 things for me come to mind, okay? The first thing was his obsession with this idea of ensuring that what happened on the plains of Karbala was not forgotten. There seems to have been this obsessive nature of Imam As-Sajjad that he wanted to make sure that not only was the remembrance of his father still fresh in people's minds, but the emotion also was fresh. He would make sure and ensure that, like even the happiest of occasions, if people were inviting him, he would say, you know what, I don't want to go. After a lot of, like they would insist, then he would go, but he would place conditions. That, look, I want you to first remember my father, marhum, the Shaheed Karbala, and then, inshallah, you can have your grand occasion. A lot of my youth ask me, a lot of what we do in terms of our weddings, in terms of our cultural settings, are these not all things that we get from other cultures? There's no place in the deen. A lot of our wedding ceremonies begin with a majlis. I don't know what happens there, but I know in the Pakistani culture that's, they have one dedicated event towards having a majlis, and a lot of it dates back to the Sida of Imam As-Sajjad, who even during happy moments says, look, I want you to remember my father, right? He would pass by an animal being sacrificed. He would stop and ask the owner of that animal, or the one who's about to sacrifice that animal, have you given the animal some water? And they would reply saying, Mawla, we don't ever sacrifice an animal without giving it water. And number 2, without ensuring that the other members of that animal's family, ensuring that they don't watch the sacrifice. And Imam As-Sajjad's heart would break into pieces. That this one animal is given basic rights that my father wasn't given. He was killed thirsty, and he was killed while his sister Zainab stood on Tell Zainabiyya watching. And the question is why? Now one can say, well, he's a son after all, right? I mean, he witnessed things that, you and I couldn't have the heart even to retell, forget witness. But we're talking about 33 years. I mean, if you ask me, I lost my father, it was 2002, so it's been about 19 years. And obviously, that loss is there, and I mean, I can never, refill that hole that my father left behind. But the grief now, after a while, subsides. Yes, you cry once in a while, but not the way you did initially. Imam As-Sajjad would cry for Imam Hussein to the point where even his close companions would say, Ki Mola, kab tak roenge aap? Kab tak roenge aap? How long are you going to cry for? And that's why, he says very famously, look, you talk about my tears, Nabi Yaqub, Prophet Yaqub, knew Prophet Yusuf was in a different country, alive, well. But still, simply out of the fact that there was separation between the two, he cried until there was blindness in his eyes, the Qur'an says. That's okay. That's understandable. But here I am now watching my father be killed the way he was killed, watching, multiple members of my family in 1/2 of a day be killed the way they were killed, and you question my tears? I bring this first point up only because I want us to have a reboot and a revisit on how we see the system of Azadari. And I know it's Sha'ban, It's a month of celebration. It's a month of joy, But Azadari is not just black cloth and tears and latamia and beating our chest. No, it's a movement, right? It's a philosophy. It's a way of life, right? And so it has to be understood. The reason why I bring this up is only because a lot of my youth, and the questions now come out more and more every year, is that they ask me, Syed Asad, why do we cry so much? Imam Hussein on the night before Ashura was busy worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was busy, like there are moments where you would see a smile on his face. He was so serene on the day of Ashura. Here we are grieving, crying, beating our chest, right? Denying anything worldly on the day of Ashura. Like wouldn't it be better if we analyzed the academic mission of Imam Hussein? And this agenda, I don't like that word, but sometimes this movement now to remove the grief from Imam Hussein. No importance to Matam, no importance to Nohas, no importance to this Marsiya and Salam that we have, right? All chalked up to just kind of, back home, India, Pakistan, Africa culture. It's nothing to do with Islam. And it boils my blood, as you can see. Makes me quite upset because it has nothing to do with culture. These are things that are seen as acts of worship. To a certain degree, of course, everything has its limits, right? I mean, everything has its limits. There are those individuals that when the Masa'ib of Imam Hussein starts, there are two groups of people. There's a third or fourth, but two groups of people. One, people who walk in during Masa'ib, and one people who walk out during Masa'ib. There is one group that walks in when Matam starts. There's one group that walks out when Matam starts. And I'm sorry, both of them are equally incorrect. Right? We have to learn from Hussein while we grieve for Hussein. And Imam As-Sajjad taught that. He said there's an academic portion to my father's mission, and there's an emotional aspect to my father's mission. Why the ahmiyat and the importance of the tears? Number one. The second point I want to make tonight with all of you is dua. I'll get to that in about 2 minutes. Let's understand one thing. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala, in his letter to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba in Nahj al-Balagha, letter number 31. If you have not read that letter, I ask you humbly to go through that letter. Many paragraphs long. One paragraph is enough for our life. Letter number 31 in Nahj al-Balagha. A letter written from a father to a son. It's a beautiful, heartfelt letter. In there is where we get the famous line where Imam Ali says that the heart of a young individual is like uncultivated land. Okay? Uncultivated land is land that has nothing on it. Right? It's not ready for growth yet. It's barren land. It's just land as far as you can see. Okay, so I want you to imagine now, to my young guys, that you pick up, let's say, 2 acres of land somewhere north in Edmonton now, right? Excuse me. You pick up 2 acres of land as an investment. Maybe one day, someday, you see some development there. Maybe a smart center, maybe a strip mall, whatever the case may be. You get there, and it's barren land. It's just nothing on it. And trying now to dig anything, plant anything, build anything on that land requires some preparation. You have to cultivate the land, get it ready for growth, dig it up, remove the barriers, right? Really get that land ready. And whatever you plant in that, whatever you build on that, it's going to be there for decades afterwards, unless, of course, you destroy it afterwards. Imam Ali says, look, that's the potential of the youth. Now, what happens sometimes is the brutal Alberta winters hits, and that land, let's say in January, February, is rock hard. Rock hard. You're trying to dig, you won't get anywhere. You're breaking your wrist, you're breaking the machines. What do? It's to soften the land. Soften the land. And what do you use to soften the land? You use water to soften the land. Sometimes, when I get Play-Doh for my kids and they leave it out for 24 hours, and it's just on the brink of becoming rock hard and useless, but there's a little bit of softness in there. I, like a cheap dad, I run it under a little bit of water, I kind of mush it up, I dry it outside. I really try to revive the $1 Play-Doh for some reason. But that's what happens, okay? Now, once that land is watered, now you can kind of, play with it. You can cultivate it. Our hearts are no different. The heart of the youth is no different. Please follow this very delicate point. Then we move towards dua. I have a lot to say. I don't want to go on for 50 minutes. But I do want to get these 2 points across. It's my last lecture of the past 3 nights, and I want to make sure I leave the proper message for all of you. Uncultivated land, sometimes because of sins, ignorance, our own ego, the land inside the heart of our youth hardens. Qaswat al-qulub, the Qur'an refers to it, the hardening of hearts. You can't plant anything on that. It's hard as a rock. What are you going to do? There's nothing. Faith won't stay there. A flower won't stay there. Piety, nothing will stay there. And so what do? You have to soften the land. What do you use to soften the land? Use water to soften the land. And one of the sources of water are the tears of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Think about it. Individuals now, I get so many, every Muharram. I remember one time, I'll never forget this message. It was 3 years ago. And I was in a different city now, 8th of Muharram. I read the Majlis. On my way home, I get a phone call from my mother. And she's crying on the other line. I said, everything okay, sister? She says, Syed Asad, for the first time in my life, me and my daughter cried together for Abu Fazl al-Abbas on 8th of Muharram. She understood the Masa'ib. And she's just, she's just been so soft the entire evening, and I just wanted to call to send you my appreciation and my thankfulness, whatever the case may be. But it's amazing how when the heart softens, you're able to focus. That's why I think sometimes the ulama have made a very beautiful connection between Imam Hussein and Imam al-Zaman, right? From Ashur until Zuhur, as many say, right? What Imam Hussein planted on the day of Ashura, Imam al-Zaman will flourish and see growth until perfection when he arrives. Why? Because if Imam Hussein is providing the water and the grief to cultivate and soften the heart, it's Imam al-Zamana now, right? Think about it. My Play-Doh is soft now. I can make whatever I want out of it. I can use my bake oven. I can use hair for my daughter's doll. I can make fake food out of it if I want to. I can pretty much use that and transform it how I wish. Manipulate it with however I want, right? Form it, shape it towards what I want. When the heart is soft, you can sit there and mold it how you want. So if Imam Hussein now is providing the tears for the hearts to soften, it's Imam al-Zamana that's providing the molding of the heart. Now that your heart is soft, mold it towards Imam al-Zamana's mission. That's the ahmiyat importance of grief. Don't underestimate grieving. Don't look at someone who's beating their head and crying out loud at someone, oh, this guy's ruining them. Why do you cry so loud? Baba, he's going through an experience right now. That's why one of the areas your ulama say that du'as are the most accepted is when tears roll down your face. The heart is soft. The heart is sincere. The heart is accepting the truth. At that moment, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, your du'as will become true. That's number one. It's not just the son remembering his father. This was an imam trying to nurture his nation. One of the ways he did it was through the grief of Imam Hussein, his father. The second way he did it was dua. Oh, dua. What a beautiful topic. Beautiful topic. And I'm sorry to say, one of the most misunderstood topics that we have. I don't have time right now to tell you about the power of dua. All of you know. All of you know. MashaAllah, the Jamaat at Edmonton now, you've invited enough speakers to know that, dua are the weapons of the believers. The Ahlul Bayt have left behind treasures, which I believe no other sect of Islam, no other major religion out there has the khazana and the treasure of du'as that we have. And this is this Imam that we are here tonight to celebrate that left behind a treasure called Syed Asad Jafri, the 15 whispered prayers, Risalat al-Huquq, all these amazing works left behind by our fourth Imam tells me that he had this importance and love for dua. But what is that misconception? I'll tell you. The misconception is this. We take dua to be transactional with God, when really it should be transformative towards God. Okay? The moment that we see dua to be a transaction, we've lost the essence of dua. Dua was never meant to be a transaction. It was meant to be a revolution, a transformation for us. Let me explain. Right now, we live in an era of consumerism, right? Let me give you a very simple example. It's so easy now to buy things online, especially in this pandemic world where sometimes when the lockdown stores are closed, malls are shut down. So you resort to online, right? So you open up your app and you choose what you want to choose and you kind of select and you add to cart and you check out, and a couple of clicks later, now boom, your order has been placed, and if you have the right membership, in 24 hours it's at your doorstep. Okay. And if it comes the way that you've asked for it, in the color I want, the size I want, and the timeline I want, you're happy. You'll keep ordering from this app. You'll keep asking for this company to send you products. No problem. The moment that you get a shipment from a company where the color is wrong, the size is wrong, and the shipment has been delayed, then all chaos. We're like, forget it. Write a nasty review online. Tell your friends and your family, don't. I've had a horrible experience with this company. They always mess up my orders. They don't ship on time. Everything is delayed, blah, blah, blah. Forget it. And that transactional experience sometimes that we have, we sometimes apply it to God. That God, this is my dua. If it comes in my size, the size I want, the color I want, and the timing I want, then we're good. But the moment the timing is delayed, the shipment is delayed, the dua is delayed, or maybe I asked for blue and I got green. Maybe I asked for a boy and I got a girl. Maybe I asked to be married in the summertime, but instead I got married in the fall. Then we start questioning God himself. Because you know what, guys? There is no such thing as God Prime, right? There isn't. There's no such thing as, okay, you know what, I expect myself, because I have bought a God Prime subscription now, and, I have asked for a dua in my Zohar Salat, and so based on, the fact that it's God Prime, the dua should be here tomorrow morning, inshallah. Doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. That transaction sometimes, and I think that that's sometimes what our downfall is. Dua was never meant to be, a transaction with God. It was meant to be a reminder for our heart that he is the one that should be asked. That we are in need. Ya ayyuhan nas antum fuqara'u ila Allah wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. O mankind, you are constantly in need of Allah. You are constantly a faqir, a beggar when it comes to Allah. And Allah, wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. He's ghani, he's hamid. He's needless and he's always praised. So now when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are reminding yourself and your hearts that no other door is worthy of being asked except for this one. Look, I'll give you a very simple example. I used this example before. I'm not sure if I used it at Edmonton. It's a very silly example, so don't mind me. Silly examples. I want you to imagine it's Halloween night, okay? Halloween night. And don't ask me haram, halal, I don't know. That's not the question. Halloween night, and you're watching the kids now on your street go door to door to door looking for candy. Okay? They have their bags, they have their costumes, right? And you're watching this one group of kids. They first start off at your neighbor's house, across the street. The house, there's no lights on, no cars in the driveway, no sign of anybody being at home. Big sign on the door saying, no candy, please go away. Okay? But still somehow these guys think, oh, let's give it a shot. So they ring the bell once, they wait about 2 minutes, and they leave. The neighbor right next to this guy is the opposite. Every light is on, 2 or 3 cars in the driveway, right? A few pumpkins in the front lawn, right? A couple of ghosts here and there on the front porch, right? Some weird Halloween music coming from the house, right? You peek inside, you see, okay, everyone has a costume, even the dog is dressed up for some reason, right? Everything, and you ring the doorbell. If after 2 minutes there's no answer, will they leave? No, they won't leave. They'll ring the bell, they'll knock on the door, they'll ring the bell, they'll knock on the door. They will do it until their knuckles bleed. Why? Because what they're after, what they want, they know, they have complete certainty it's behind this door. So what do? What do? They keep asking. They keep asking. They're persistent in their in their asking. Because they know, I know for certain, when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the moment that we lift our hands up, the moment that our lips move, our tongue moves, the moment our ears hear us requesting something, right away we're telling our heart, our soul, look, I'm not asking this person or that idol or this system. I have acknowledged God to be that door that I know is the fulfillment of my du'as. Your yaqeen goes up. Your himmat and hope goes up, your courage goes up, your faith goes up, your submission goes up. It becomes what? Transformative, not transactional. And the Qur'an captures this beautifully. Surah Hajj, verse number 11. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. There are those amongst men who worship Allah on the edge of a cliff. On the boundary. 1 foot in the boundary, 1 foot out of the boundary. There are those who are like that as well. And the Quran says, so long as khair comes their way, it's ma'an nabi. The ayat goes on to say that, they are very comfortable. You give me khair, Allah, I'll give you my worship. You give me a child when I want to, I'll give you my sujood. You give me the person that I want to marry, give them to me, I'll give you my fasting. You relieve my mother of her cancer, I'm happy. You give me my job, I'm great. You give me khair, I'll give you worship. That's transactional. But then, وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُمْ فِتْنَةٌ انْقَلَبَ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. The moment that things don't go their way, the moment a struggle hits, the moment a test hits, they turn their face away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh. You ever see people who turn their face away from disgust? These are people who are disgusted by the person in front of them. To use that word for God, I'm sorry, it's harsh, I know. But that's the image that this verse is describing. Surah Hajj, verse number 11. Very famous verse. If we don't get what we want from God, then we turn our face away from Him. If God puts a struggle in front of us, then we turn our face away from Him. If He does not give us our du'as in the timeline that I asked, I paid for express shipping. I got it 2 weeks after. I want my money back. I'll never again place an order with you guys again. Sometimes we add our own shipping charges when it comes to our du'as. No. Ask Allah, then submit to His wisdom. Because the verse ends off by saying these are people who are losers. They've lost this world, they've lost the hereafter, and this is a khusranun mubin. This is a monumental loss, the verse says. There are people who either live for this world and sacrifice the next, or live for the next, sacrifice this world. But these people now who worship Allah, these are not the munafiqeen, guys, not the kuffar, not the mushrikeen. They are وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ. They are people who worship Allah. But they worship Allah on the edge of a cliff or on the boundary. You ever see those people who come to the Jamaat, come to the center? They're early, the entire hall is empty, but they'll sit right by the exit door. Brother, bhai, andar come inside. Come sit in the front. No, I'm good here. And you wonder, why is he sitting at the exit when the entire hall is empty? I know what he's thinking. If this alim and Maulana, if his speeches are boring or if he's falling asleep, he'll quickly kind of, exit quietly, hop in his car and go home. I got you. I know. There are people who worship God like that. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. A little bit of rocking of the boat, khulafis, I'm out. That's a transactional worship, and that's bound for failure. We have to bring transformation, a revolution, a rebooting inside of our worship and our du'as. So my sisters and my brothers, I've taken too much of your time already. I ask you to please remember what I told you these past 3 nights. I also will, inshallah, be able to, I pray to Allah to apply my own words in my own life. Sometimes, we have to look inwards for change. We have solutions for everybody. We really do. We don't have solutions for ourselves. Sometimes you need a revival, a rebooting, a rerouting, right? A reset. Okay? Focus on yourself. You'll find that your world of view will change, and now everybody else will be seen through a different lens. And then maybe we can move forward strengthen our families, strengthen our marriages, strengthen our faith with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and move from a transactional faith to a transformational faith, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to accept our qaleel efforts these past 3 nights. The month of Sha'ban now, forgive us, accept our tawbah, accept our amal, make us worthy of the Imam of our time when he comes. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to come into your homes for the past 3 nights. May Allah bless each and every one of you. Please remember me in your du'as. I also will do the same for all of you as well. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
برائے خوشنودی امام سجاد باواز بلند صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم. منقبت کے چند اشعار امام سجاد کی شان میں ملاحظہ فرمائیے. دین احمد کے پاسباں سجاد، دین احمد کے پاسباں سجاد، دین احمد کے پاس سجاد، مقصد شہر کے رازداں سجاد، دین احمد کے پاس سجاد. تیرے نقش قدم کو حسرت سے، تیرے نقش قدم کو حسرت سے تکتا رہتا ہے آسمان سجاد، دین احمد کے پاس سجاد. جتنی مد ہے حسین کرتا ہوں، جتنی مد ہے حسین کرتا ہوں، اتنا ہوتے ہیں مہربان سجاد، دین احمد کے پاس سجاد. اور یہ آخری شعر آپ کی سماعتوں کے. ڈوب جاتا سفینہ اسلام، ڈوب جاتا سفینہ اسلام، گر نہ بن جاتا بادباں سجاد، دین احمد کے پاس سجاد. افضل الصلاة والسلام علیک یا رسول اللہ محمد وآل محمد صلوات صلو علی محمد. یا رب بیمار کرب و بلا کا ہے واسطہ، جو ہیں مریض ان کو تو دے جلد اب شفا. بیمار وطن فاطمہ صغرا کا واسطہ، معصوم کا یتیم سکینہ کا واسطہ. ڈوبا لب دریا وہ سفینہ کا واسطہ. اے میرے خدا شاہ مدینہ کا واسطہ. یا رب بیمار کرب و بلا کا ہے واسطہ، جو ہیں مریض ان کو تندے جلد اب شفا. بیمار کی حالت ہے یہ دیکھی نہیں جاتی، میں کیا کروں غم سے میری بھر جاتی ہے چھاتی. بس یاد میں تیرے میں مصلا ہوں بچھاتی، جز تیرا نہیں کوئی میرا مونس و ساتھی. یا رب بیمار کرب و بلا کا ہے واسطہ، جو ہے مریض ان کو تندے جلد اب شفا. کرتا ہوں دعا رب سے میں یا حضرت سجاد، ہے آسرا تمہارا تم ہی کیجیو امداد. ہے کون میرا جس سے کروں جا کے میں فریاد، امداد طلب ہے میری تم کیجیو امداد. یا رب بیمار کرب و بلا کا ہے واسطہ، جو ہے مریض ان کو تندے جلد اب شفا. بیمار کے لیے تیرا یہ ذکر شفا ہے، ہر اسم تیرا ان کے لیے ایک دوا ہے. تو کن فیکون ہے وہ تیرے در کا گدا ہے، تو چاہے تو ایک کان میں ہی ان کی شفا ہے. یا رب بیمار کرب و بلا کا ہے واسطہ، جو ہیں مریض ان کو تندے جلد اب شفا. افضل الصلاة والسلام علیک یا رسول اللہ محمد وآل محمد صلوات صلو علی محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله، يا من لا يقال لغيره يا الله. اللهم من علينا برضاك، اللهم فك نقابنا من النار، اللهم شافي كل مريض، خصوصا من دعونا لهم اللهم ألبسهم ثوب الصحة والعافية يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليكم أئمة البقي علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر اللهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبي الفضل العباس وأختيك زينب وأم كلثوم وبنتك سكينة وعلى ابن عمك مسلم بن عقيل. السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم ومحمد التقي وعلي الهادي والحسن العسكري ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء معين الضعفاء والفقراء، الشمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس، أيها المدفون بأرض توس. السلام عليك يا سلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. السلام على أختك فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك يا ابن الزهراء يا صاحب الزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله